Hi there, everyone. Welcome to part two of our Alternative Law Careers Roundtable on legal technology. So we had some guests the last time that were not available, and of course, they were too irresistible or too valuable to say, okay, next time. So we decided to have part two, and unfortunately, two of the scheduled panelists couldn't make it for various reasons, but we're very pleased to have local talent, South African talent, Naomi Thompson in the house. And just incidentally, fun fact, sometimes I get called Lisa Thompson. So, so I thought I'd put that in there because I saw your name, Naomi, and I was like, I don't know why people, they can't just say Thomas, they say Lisa Thompson. I'm like, okay, maybe we're sisters. So I'm very pleased to have Naomi in the house. And of course, she is a
Hey.
powerhouse in her own right. I don't know how I didn't come across her sooner, but she's going to be doing I think the bulk of the talking. I won't say keynote, but the bulk of the talking, basically debunking a career in legal technology for law graduates. And this is something that's right up her alley, and she's very passionate about directing graduates and speaking to students on this topic. And of course, I have my very capable colleague, Ratidzo Murwisi, Botswana's only legal technologist. That's the tagline. So I'm very pleased to have her. She's on the latest installment of my podcast for when it does go up. It was a very interesting discussion as usual. So she's going to be the moderator for evening, um, this evening's discussion, and I have no doubt it's going to be an organic one, a very very bubbly one, energetic. Um, so it's just the objective of these roundtables, and they're going to get bigger and better in the new year, I promise. Is to introduce law students or graduates to alternatives. I think all of us just have this vague idea of what we are supposed to do after graduation and the path we have to take, and we don't really sit and plan. And of course, when the vague idea doesn't pan out as we thought, so everyone else is forging ahead, and and you're not getting any articles or anything, then of course reality hits you between the eyes, and then that's the time you are looking for alternatives, or you're having an existential crisis, which is what I face in my DMs often, right? Why am I here? Did I even study law for was it even worth it? Why did I study it? Was it a waste of money? All of that, right? So these roundtables are to open up different avenues to you. And I must say, I have been enlightened on this particular avenue of legal technology. And the only way I can describe it is that it's a different species of legal practitioner. A very, very unique, unusual, um, and I think they sort of forged their own path in the profession. So if you listen to this talk today and you decide it's for you, then of course you can reach out to Rati, you can reach out to Naomi. The best conversations or the best connections are what happen after events. We are not events based, we are relational people. And of course, we are all passionate about. Rati herself is a mentor. So we're all passionate about getting you guys on the right path, making sure you are informed about what you want to do, and of course, giving you guidance and scolding sometimes when it's needed. Okay, so please feel free to reach out to any one of us, especially Rati or Naomi, or both of them, to know more about how you can get into the field, right? So with that, I'm going to get Naomi to introduce herself, lest I leave out anything prolific. I'm sure that CV, the resume is quite long. So at the risk of not leaving anything out rather, I'm going to get Naomi to introduce herself to you.
Thank you very much, Lisa and Rati. It is my absolute pleasure to be here. And to everyone that will be watching, this is the most exciting, interesting time of your career. So take advantage of it. Or shall I say, Lisa Thompson, my long lost sister that I didn't know I had. And Rati, I have been following you. I am following you. I'm a big fan. So I have got fangirl syndrome right now that I am on this call with you. I think you've covered it all, Lisa. If anyone wants to read my bio, they're most welcome to go and look at LinkedIn. But safe to say that I'm really just passionate about the intersection of law, business, and technology, and how, as the legal profession, we are not isolated from all the other areas that impact our business, and opportunity abounds if this is the best time to be entering and to be in the legal field. But what everyone needs to be is curious and really just have a
Mm-hmm.
curious mind
Okay.
and a
Yeah, I
curious
think
attitude to work
that's
life
something that
again.
I encourage, like as a baseline attitude. As a student, as a graduate, or even you're an older person and you're coming into the profession. I mean, we're all doing things for the first time at different points in our lives, right? We have all these firsts in our lives. We have to be curious, right? So there are things that can seem very
Yeah,
daunting unless
yeah,
we ask those questions. And I think one one of the good things that I've done is made space for students to ask stupid questions because all of us were there at some stage, and we have to give them that space to be curious and ask all of those questions that to us we might roll our eyes, but somebody else needs to know. Somebody else is coming in. They don't know what to do. They don't know what's this thing called, for example, a summons. They don't know what being in court is like. So you have to make space to answer those questions. And the best attitude one can have is curiosity um, in the professional space. And of course, it's having people like us, and I'm sure countless others, that accommodate that curiosity because it's through your curiosity that you're going to learn. And you're going to ask the question that's going to give you the information that's going to make you feel comfortable and at least initiate you properly into an otherwise unknown field or an unknown section of the field, like this one, legal technology. And I think from what I've learned so far about the field and interacting with Rati and her colleagues is that it's not easy, but there's a certain personality type that goes with it. And it's not for everyone at the same time. So it's quite niche, I would say. And you might feel even that you don't fit in anywhere. You're not cut up for litigation. You don't want to sit and drop documents in the office the entire day. But perhaps this is your area, your niche to shine. Um, so yeah, so with that, I'm going to launch into my section of the um, session, which is the road to admission in South Africa, right? I think it's a little bit different where Rati is, and she qualified in various jurisdictions. But here in South Africa, and as with our initial roundtable, we discovered it's a global problem where the exams are hard to pass, and of course that delays admission because you have outstanding exams that need to be passed, and if you can't pass a particular paper, you're not getting admitted, and then you're caught in this twilight zone of not being qualified to practice law. And often that's where a lot of people stall, and it becomes a stalemate, and it becomes a discouragement. Like I said, lots of DMs. I receive along those lines. Like, what do I do now? I have one paper outstanding. Um, I can't practice, I can't do anything now unless I pass this paper. Like, where can I go? Can I pivot from here? So there is a very real dilemma. I'll speak to South Africa for now for this discussion, where even to get articles is difficult. Like I said, we all have this vague idea of what needs to be done. But when it doesn't work out according to that vague idea, then um, that's when the reality hits most law graduates, and they're wondering, is something wrong with them? They're gaslighting themselves. Why is it working out for my friend and not for me? And of course, the reality in South Africa is that there aren't enough positions for every law graduate. So if you can think of all the backlog that we have, graduates sitting at home for maybe 2 or 3 years that have been applying for articles, and yes, people do unwisely flog the dead horse for up to 2 years without having a plan. So it's just a case of applying and applying. And after that, I say, look, you have maximum 6 months. You have to figure it out that it's not working, and you have to make some kind of plan to do something else, right? Because the whole discouragement of even applying, not getting replies, applying, getting rejected, that takes a toll. I think law graduates come face to face with themselves during that process. And it's very disheartening. Often that's when your resilience is tested. Um, your reason for even studying law is tested. And so there's a lot of backlog. And so what happens is that essentially you end up competing with your friends, your mates for the same few positions. And you know that getting into vacation work programs is not a guarantee, although that myth still prevails that if you get into a vacation work program that you're going to automatically get articles at that firm, and then you don't. So there's all these real world systemic, harsh realities that are present. And so obviously there's always a way out, right? There's always a choice. And of course, the earlier you plan for your career, even at university, I know some places the career services aren't great at the universities, but you as a student, as a graduate, you've got to take the bull by the horns and say, right, I know the traditional path is this, right? What if that doesn't work out? What are the other options for me in the field? And of course, if I need to divert for a while and then come back, is that an option for me? Um, so we've got to take the bull by the horns. We've got to plan. Obviously, all is not lost when you come to applying for articles and then get hit with that harsh reality. It's not too late, but it's not the ideal situation to be then thinking about a backup. You want to have done that, at least in your third or fourth year, when they tell you to start applying. I was one of those people. Start applying for articles in your third year, and of course, then the firms that they give you are very, very selected, and they don't tell you about other firms, other opportunities. I found out about the bar for being an advocate out of sheer desperation. And even there, they told me, don't come because you don't have experience. You're just a graduate. And I got in because there was someone that dropped off that intake for that year. But we all do what they tell us to do. And then we don't critically think of, okay, what are my options? If I don't get articles, which I know is the only path at the moment to becoming an admitted practitioner, what other options are there for me? What other things can I do maybe while I'm waiting to get into articles? Because obviously you can't waste the time. And I think the worst thing you can do is, as I mentioned earlier, sit at home for like up to 2 years applying for articles. I often tell people in that situation, like, you sat at home for too long. Like, what do you have in your hand? What can earn you money? You know, what's going to maybe give you that soft skill edge that you need coming out of university. Um, where university didn't equip you with soft skills, they just gave you hard skills. You know, end of the day, it's about survival. It's about earning a living. So I have to tell students, look, I know you want to get into articles next. That's what we all are told. You want to get going with things, but right now you've got to prioritize earning a living because no one's going to give you thousands of rands a month doing nothing, sitting at home and applying for jobs for articles. So you have to, at some point, you're going to say, look, it's not working out. I didn't plan for backup. I don't know what to do next, but I have to earn a living. So right now I've got to put my career progression on the shelf and I've got to make earning a living a priority. Um, and then come back to looking for articles at a later stage. So I guess I'm preaching to the choir, at least in terms of South African context. But I thought that be useful to paint the picture or to give a context for why we are doing these roundtables or these panel discussions, because we can't come so far for nothing. We can't study for nothing. The law degree is the one of the best degrees you can have, at least as a foundation. So it's got to count for something. All our sacrifices have got to count for something. If your article's situation didn't pan out, all is not lost, right? Or if you even going to still apply for it and you don't get it, know that it's nothing is wrong with you. It might be that your path is not the conventional path, right? So, and of course, that's why we have people that are solid in the field, right? In the respective roundtables that we've had people that are experts, I would say, but they've come up, they've pioneered, they've trailblazed in their respective fields. So hopefully we can open up this avenue a little bit more today. And I'm not going to talk for too much longer. I'm going to give the floor to Naomi and she can talk about what excites her the most.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate that. Do you guys want me to start off and just
Yeah, you
give a
can do
little
that.
bit about my experience and then go into a question and answer session? Okay, fantastic. Okay, wonderful. I love how you say that we law graduates have got to take the bull by the horns. There's something I often tell my mentees. I'm like, if you knock on the door and no one is opening, go around to the back there. There likely is
Yeah.
an alternative door that you can walk through. But if none of the doors are open, there's a window. With some of the older houses, there's a chimney. But I say that really to instill in them that the opportunities are there for the ones that are persistent. We are competing. If you look at your class, if you look at everyone next to you, you are those are your competitors. You are starting to compete now, and that competition is never going to end. You are competing for your articles. You are competing for who's going to be fielded out as you grow in your career. Then the road all the way up becomes more narrower, and we have got to be the ones that wants it so badly that we're going to find a way around it. I tell an interesting story just about myself. When I was looking for articles, we weren't even told that I needed to apply in my third year. So I got to fourth year and I started writing letters, and now I'm giving my age away because I started writing letters very fervently to all these law firms, and this is my grades, this is what I want to do. And of course, I did not get articles in any of the law firms. But what I ended up doing that December when I went home, I took with me that really big book that had all the lawyers' details in it. I started picking up and calling them, can I speak to your HR department? I went through all of that one by one. Where my parents was in the Eastern Cape, I was in East London. I studied in Durban, and I was hoping I could serve my articles in Durban because that's kind of like the area that I got to know professionally. And I was calling all these law firms in Durban, and the one told me, yes, coming for a meeting tomorrow morning. This is in the afternoon in East London at around 2 o'clock. I'm like, I'll be there. What time you want me to be there? At 10 o'clock. Okay, great. I'll be there. I went to my parents. I'm like, fun fact, I need to be in Durban tomorrow morning for an interview. And they're like, are you insane? Like, but that's kind of the, you gotta like just have it. And I couldn't even ask for another date because it was the last day. Law firms was closing. They were closing. I got into a bus. I drove overnight, went to change as I got into Durban, went for my interview, got the job, and had to come back in January. So when we talk about taking your future into your own hands, those are the type of things that you're going to do. Yes, it was a little bit of an extreme story. I think Naomi is extreme in everything that I do. But if we are not going to do that for ourselves, if we're not going to advocate for ourselves, it is not going to happen. But we are here to talk about the wonderful world of legal tech. So, what I regard myself as and where my sweet spot lies is working at that very intersection of law, business, and technology, is understanding how the three of them interrelate and interact with one another. So, very often I look at what we call the business of law. The business of law looks at what lawyers can do better, how lawyers can improve their efficiency, how lawyers can understand that what I'm doing here, I'm not just looking at the law. When we get into law firms and we advise clients, our clients are going to be multinational, they're going to be global organizations, they're going to be other businesses, and businesses are driven by commerciality. Businesses are driven by the commercial aspect. How are we going to make money? How are we going to beat our competitors, and how are we going to stay competitive in a market? So if you think through those lenses, you understand that as in practice, we cannot anymore just be the traditional lawyer that looks at what does the law say and let me give you the highest risk mitigation. Then businesses are never going to make money. Businesses need to understand what the risks are, and with that they then need to make an assessment of what risk they can then achieve. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, how are we as lawyers then going to be more productive? And how are we going to be more efficient? And how are we going to able to meet our clients' needs? We all saw during COVID, CEOs, general counsels were calling their law firms and go, what do we need to do? How do we protect our teams? There's no time to have 3 months, to have 3 weeks to sit and research. What does the law say? How can we do it? We need answers right away. And to be enable us to have those answers right away, technology becomes an enabler. Technology becomes the tool that we then use to make ourselves better lawyers. How did I get into legal technology? I call it that was by fluke. I was in-house legal counsel for a number of years. I got very stuck in the just same old drafting contracts, reviewing contracts, signing on new clients. But during that time, I got that urge to understand that I needed to add more value to my business. And at that time, I couldn't see that I was doing it through law because I felt like the justice, like we say, the wheels of justice turn slowly, and I just wanted to get on with things. So instead of finding a way on how I can improve legal, I left legal. I said goodbye to it. I thought I'm never coming back to legal. And I joined the business. So I joined the heart of the business where we were working with legal reported into our function, HR, marketing, finance, and IT. And in that area, I got to look at business efficiencies. How do we drive normal business efficiencies? And I fell in love with what business meant. Off I went to business school, hoping to come back, become a COO, become a CEO, but really just nothing to do with law because I was now done with law. Um, I got called by a company that was an alternative legal services provider, and I was like, what do you guys do? I have never heard of alternative legal services. Legal technology, no, there's no such thing as legal technology. I was in-house. I do not know any legal technology. No one spoke to me about legal tech. But I decided to be curious. I decided to have a curious mind, and I said, yes, let me look at this. And I found that what this area of law was taking all of that experiences that I actually gathered and brought it together in a role where I could now advise my clients on how they could work better. So I always caution people. I said, legal technology is great. And I know, Ratsi, you would agree with me on this. Legal technology is great. It is wonderful. You can do amazing things with it. There are many people who are experts at the technical side of legal tech, but there are other people that understands the business imperative of legal tech. And you will use legal technology not as the silver bullet. It is not going to fix how we advise. It does not change how we are as a lawyer, as now legal tech is just, you implement it and suddenly all your inefficiencies is gone. If you do that, you're probably going to have a bigger problem in your hands. But legal technology, we need to look at how are we doing things. What we do, is that correct? Unpack and go through every little element of what it is that you are doing. Right now, I am fortunate enough to be with a client of mine where we have a large legal collections team. And when I started with that, it was everywhere and all over the place. But I had to stop and say, I want you to write down on a whiteboard for me every single step that we are taking. Where do we start? And that we call the process mapping of what it is that we are doing. Design thinking is probably an element that you've spoken about or that you bring into some of your conversations. But design thinking is a beautiful way in which we unpack what we do. So, is these things that we are doing adding value to the end of this process? Are we looking at this through the right lens? Are we asking the right questions? So many times, and you've all heard the analogy of the turkey, where this lady would cut off the side of the turkey, put it in the oven, and she didn't know why she did it. Well, Mom, why are you doing this? Oh, my mother did it. Oh, my mother did it. It so happened that the first person who did that just had a very small oven, and the turkey did not fit into it. But we do this in our legal professions, in our business every single day. Now, when you start with that foundational element, you start with understanding what it is that you're doing has got commercial implications. So whoever you're providing that advice for needs you to think through how that will affect their business, how quickly and how soon we turn it around. Then you look at what I am doing. Why are we doing it? Are they adding value? Are there inefficiencies? When you've done those two things, you then can bring in technology. That's when you look at technology. Okay, so what do I need? I need speed. I need speed at which I respond to my client. Is there a way that I can research at a faster way? As one person reading multiple books that sits in a beautiful bookshelf. By the way, that's the reason why I became a lawyer. I fell in love with all those books in the law office time. But they are not efficient. Is there AI, or is there a tool that can source through hundreds of pieces of legislation, loads of case law, that can very easily give you a first draft or a first review and says, I found the information that you're looking for in all of these resources. What you've done for yourself, you were able to improve your speed. You were able to understand that what I need to do does it much quicker, more accurately as well, and you have solved a problem. You have solved a real problem for yourself. If we're looking at needing to draft contracts or needing to and the most common one in South Africa the most common one that's used is e-discovery. How do you go through thousands and thousands of pieces of documents at a much faster pace? You are then able to create those efficiencies for yourself, and you're able to create that commercial outcome for your clients. So some of the myths, because you were asking me to debunk it, right? Do I need to be a technical expert? That is myth number one that we should debunk. We are not looking for coders, although if you can code and you have a law degree, my word, you become gold. You set yourself apart. We were talking about you creating a competitive advantage for yourself. There are so many coding courses that are out there that people are offering. Go and on a Saturday, do something, find a course online, find a course on Coursera, on LinkedIn, and say, you know what, is there maybe something that can teach me a little bit more about what the technical parts of this mean? But I very much think that coding is becoming less and less important, because if we look at generative AI and all of the codes that are now the technical codes, and here I'm talking about people that go to university, that studies information technology, that studies to be a computer scientist, right? As lawyers, we do not need to be that. We can partner with people that are the technical experts. There are tools out there that can allow you to be a tech expert. There are generative AI platforms that now give you code. And we are moving to an area where we talk about low code. So what can I do that doesn't need me to be able to be a front end software engineer or a back end software engineer? There are things that does this for us so much quicker right now. That's the first myth. But if you understand how technology works, the other one that's a quick and easy one to do is data analytics. There are also many data analytics courses available. So if you are able to take large pieces of data and you're able to synthesizes in a way that it makes sense so much quicker. If we are delivering a large, say for example, M&A project in a law firm to your client on the other side is not a lawyer. Chances are maybe the general counsel will be part of the team, but you're sitting talking to huge teams of financial analysts, of the finance team, with the CFO, with the CEO. So if we are able to take our information and visualize it or take back data-backed answers, they're going to want to come back to you a lot quicker, because your client is going to say, that firm, that lawyer, that general counsel understands me and understands my business. Now, that doesn't take us years to be able to do, but when you go to a law firm, all the law firms are now understanding that I need to be a lot more advanced in the way we work with legal technology. I need to be way more cognizant of the fact that people are using legal technology out there. So sometimes also just knowing what tech solutions are available, which one applies in which area, in which industry, you are already telling your future employer, you need me because I can help you move the needle. I can take this forward. Myth number 2 is that legal tech is only for startups. Yes, it may be started with some startups. The startups are a lot more flexible in the way they can innovate and how innovative they are. Startups come in and solve a problem that some larger companies are not able to solve. But startups is one of the stakeholders in an entire value chain of what we have. We have in our value chain, we have legal tech startups that are playing an incredible role in bringing legal tech to law firms and to in-house legal teams. Some startups have got a value proposition that can be sold not just to the large law firms who can afford to pay some of the bigger, more advanced technology companies, but they are just but one. We also have alternative legal services providers, and alternative legal services providers, the likes of Cognia in South Africa, what was known as Exogen, that is now Moray, and some law firms that have got their own in-house alternative delivery teams. Weber Wenzel has got Fusion. HSF, Herbert Smith Freehills also have got their internal alternative service, legal services armed to it. Those are users of technology, and the way those elements, they deliver legal services through tech-enabled solutions. So they would either have an automated contract review mechanism. They would use e-discovery platforms to help clients. So those are some of the other players within the market that we have. Then you have established legal technology providers. You have companies that provide automated contracting, AI contracting. You have multi-billion-dollar companies that are already fully established as only legal technology providers. I find that many of those are still offshore. They are still abroad. So UK, the USA, and India. And I think that becomes, for some of our medium-sized law firms, become a little bit of a barrier to using the technology all the time because of the cost difference. And this is where, in our local markets, in an African context, we have some of the smaller technology companies that are coming in as startups and delivering that. But one of the other elements that alternative legal services providers does, they provide service to a number of clients, gives them scale. And because of that scale, it makes the legal technology that you use through their platform a lot more affordable than having to pay directly to go to some of your larger companies. I think I'll stop there and see if you have any questions that you'd like to throw at me, or the way that you'd maybe like me to take the next part of this further.
I guess that's my cue to kind of start talking just a little bit more. Now you have two of us. See, Lisa's always talk about the fact that I'm so talkative. I was like, wait till you meet Naomi. We are the same person in different bodies.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that. I always love having these conversations. I tell Lisa all the time that I love talking about anything and everything legal technology because I feel like, and I'm like, I think it's probably like a personal thing because it's like legal technology kind of saved my law career to some degree because I was like you. I was ready to be like, I'm out. I don't know why I wasted time doing a 4-year degree on this thing. It is but I couldn't say that out loud because I have accountants for parents, and my mother was just like, all I'm seeing is the millions I spent on your education, and you're telling me you don't want to do this law thing anymore. And I was like, and the worst thing is,
Bye.
yeah. And she was like, and the worst thing is, you're not even bad at it. You're very good at it. So why do you want
Mm.
to quit? And I was like,
Mm.
that billable hour thing, I don't know if I fully understood what that thing meant to my mental health also. And she was just like, yeah, but no, you're competitive. And with me, because of my experience, I did not just work at a law firm. I also did the big golden circle firms, so audit firms. So I did work in an audit firm. So she was like, but you said you were having fun when you were at KPMG. And I was like, yeah, I was. But they still had the same thing, this billable hour thing, or tracking my hour every 2 days. I don't have time. I was like, my ADHD brain can't keep up. Not the way my brain's set up. We don't like keeping time like that. So yeah. But like we said in our previous conversation, I always want to highlight that legal technology is not like your get out of jail free card. It
Yes.
it does require a very unique combination of skills, as you have seen with Naomi, and it requires a certain level of resilience because you're gonna have to knock on a few doors to get into it. Also, just like Lisa said, it's like a lot of us have kind of forged our own paths in it. So there's a lot of similarities in our backgrounds, as you will see if you look at our LinkedIn's and the like. There will be a lot of similarities, but one of the major similarity will be we got tired of traditional law. So if you're a fan of traditional law, yeah, legal tech and innovation might not be for you because you'll get frustrated at how big out of the box at I'm like, we don't even have a box. We have
No box.
a rave. We have a rave with squirrels. That's what we have. So if you're a box out of the box person thinking, yeah, no, this might be not the thing for you. But yeah, I like these kind of conversations because I think they open up law students and just legal minds to different things. But I do think almost any lawyer is capable of going into legal innovation and legal technology because our brains all function the same way essentially. So sometimes I like to say to my mentees, if you survived a law degree, you're supposed to be in that industry in some way or form. You just haven't found your path and your niche yet. And sometimes my aim is to help you find it. And also, but just to find your peace of mind, because I feel like at the end of the day, your career should give you a peace of mind and you should really enjoy it. If you find yourself not enjoying it, take a pause, maybe take a break, or just continue with it. Having said that, I would like to ask Naomi to speak more about. So many of you may not know, Naomi specializes in innovation. So, like the innovation side of legal technology. I'm more of a generalist, so I'm still a baby in the game and I'm enjoying tapping this and that and the like. But Naomi, because of her wide range of experience and her creative out of the box, out of the universe thinking, she does innovation and she's part of a program with the Legal Tech and Innovation Association. Did I know correct? LTT, because I
Yes.
just know the acronym and I always forget the full thing. Can you tell us a bit more about that innovation course? Because I think that's a very good one to go, and also selfless plug for your course there. I think innovation is a very big thing. I think every lawyer should know it, even if you're not going to venture into legal innovation or legal tech. I think innovation is just a good thing to kind of have as an extra additive to legal education. Can you please tell us how innovation helps lawyers become a better lawyer?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think I've already in my introduction started talking about it, where I was saying that when you look at technology, it is not just a plug to just go in and it's a magic bullet and it's a magic wand. What innovation is, and you get different types of innovation. So you get incremental innovation, where you look at smaller elements that you can fix, that you can improve. So when I was talking earlier about when you are, so let's take dispute resolution, for example. When you look at the end-to-end process of dispute resolution, you then map that out at every single point of it, every single touch point. Would you send an email to? Where do you get something from? Where does it flow to? When it comes from me, who's the next lawyer that needs to have it? So once you have that entire end-to-end process map, you can start seeing where inefficiencies are. But then you start saying, but Lisa sends an email to Naomi, and then Ratzi sends an email there, and Naomi comes back, and then she asks Lisa, but she was supposed to go there. So you start seeing the interlinking elements of it, and you start understanding how you can improve on that process. So you start bringing in innovation into your process on an incremental way. You then start fixing smaller problems that ultimately leads to more gains, or to bigger gains at the end of the day. Or you could have disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation is when you are getting a piece of technology that is completely disrupting the way things have been done. Let's use WhatsApp, for example. WhatsApp was a massive disruptor to your communication, to how we communicate with one another. So we used to have to pick up the phone and call someone and say, "Hi, are you there? Can I talk to you right now?" Or you have, or we would have SMSs. Who even use SMSs now? Even businesses use WhatsApp to be able to engage with them, right? So if you have, and this is where you have really massive innovators that comes up with something that completely changes the face of a solution. We could have disruptive innovation around litigation in the next 4 to 5 years. We could, like, someone could come up with a tool that says we are never going to use lawyers. Accountants are now coming up with a piece of legal tech that will disrupt a whole area of the law. So there's not many disruptive innovations that are taking place in the legal industry right now, but we have a lot of this incremental innovations that are happening. If you look at you want to see how much quicker are you able to draft contracting because your business is waiting. There's a team, and this is a real example. There was one of my clients. There was two lawyers in the team and one junior, not yet a lawyer, but like almost call it a legal administrator or legal analyst, someone just supporting the team. And this was a multinational company. No, not a multinational. An international company, but for the African division, they would have 20 or 30 contracts coming into the legal team on a daily basis. Now, humanly possible, you cannot get through all of that on a day-to-day basis. I'm actually also there right now for the client that I'm consulting with. I am playing a role of supporting the chief legal officer while I was supposed to look at operational efficiencies, but that team is also so small that I'm now doing day-to-day legal. So you have to be flexible sometimes in the way we work as well. But the things I have to ask my team right now, because there's so much coming in, we triaging. Are you on the operating table? Are we in ICU? Or is just someone sitting in the hospital queue waiting to be helped? And that's what the reality is for most legal teams. There's too much coming in on a day-to-day basis. And to be able to help them, we looked at what can we do to take a lot of that workload from the team. Because if you look at legal contracting, 80% of your contract is going to have boilerplate clauses and going to have standard clauses that most teams work on all the time. But you don't know what's in there because you did not read it. Your counterpart could have put something in there that is so unacceptable for your business risk or what you are going to accept. So from an incremental innovation, what we did, we looked at what could save their team time. And we looked at where the highest volume of contracting were. There were 17 types of contracts that comes in from the business all the time. All we did was to automate those 17 contracts, give the business a platform where they can input their own information, and that reduced that team's volume by probably close to 50%. We haven't done the analysis afterwards, but that is an innovation that was brought in by the legal team for their entire business. Now, the business itself can contract quicker with their clients. They can sign contracts quicker because now all they need to do is fill in 5 mandatory fields. Contract is done, it's spit out on the other side. They don't have to wait for legal to say, give me this, give me that. They do it themselves. They empower their team to do self-service. But unless you know that you have a problem, you are unable to innovate and find those efficiencies for yourself. So I often used to think that innovation sounds, and I want our law graduates to know this, innovation sounds like it is this big, amazing, what out of the world word. Innovation really at the bones of it. How am I going to look at something? Always with the question, how do I make this better? How do we improve this? Is there ways that we can do this better? And in our course, you asked about the course. So there's 3 of us that are running the course. It is 3 legal, technology, and innovation experts in South Africa. It is very introductory to give people a taste of what they can do. The one is Introduction to Legal Technology, but my one looks at the business of law. So how do you go and ask for money? Because innovation costs money, right? You can tell the business, I'm going to save you money, but I need 500,000 or I need R1,000,000 or I need how much ever. Now you need to put a business case together. You need to put a motivation together to say, to get you that savings, I need to do this, I need money here, but then you need to be able to calculate your ROI, so your return on investment for the business. If you tell the business, if you give me 500,000 Rand now, in the next year, I will save you 5 million. And this is how I'm going to save you 5 million. So you need to understand how to put that business case together. And that's kind of like what the part that I focus on for my session. The last part of that session is looking at, so future technology, like what is ahead? How do we use generative AI in the legal field? What does that mean for lawyers? And please don't go and research a case on ChatGPT, because that is going to lead you in a horrible path, and you may quote the wrong cases. But there are ways in which generative AI can be so beautiful and so useful for the legal teams and for the legal profession.
Oh, awesome. I love that. And I think I think this is why I wanted you to speak about it, because I feel like you said, people hear innovation and for some reason the first thing they think is tech, and they think you're doing something gadgety or whatever. And you're like, no, innovation is everywhere. It's just a very nice catchphrase that the startup guys used and then kind of ran with it a bit too far. And now everyone thinks we can't use innovation anywhere else, but it's there in everything. The one thing I did really like about what you were talking about is the fact that there's a lot of pivoting involved and a lot of flexibility required if you're in legal technology and if you're in legal innovation. I do feel like that comes across all sports, like all parts of law, because I feel like even when you're working at big law or in a small law department, you're gonna need to be very flexible and learn how to like on your feet and be like, okay, the client is requiring this and stuff. It doesn't mean you overwork yourself. I just said be flexible. So I wanted to ask, how would you suggest students will work on that? Because I always get that question all the time, and I was just like, I don't know how would a student develop that kind of soft skill, like being flexible and kind of pivoting and learning how to be comfortable with that movement? Like, how would they develop that? Because I think that is one of the major things that they need right now. Because if the articles are not working, you need to move to this. If they're not working, you need to move to that. And do you have any real life examples of that? Because I think that's one I always struggle with when they ask me that. I'm just like, ooh,
Oh,
it
wow,
might be
that one.
innate. I don't know.
We're going to be rich if we have a proper scientific answer for that, right? But what I can say is there are two things, is to have a growth mindset. A growth mindset means I don't know everything right now. I don't have all the answers right now, but I'm curious to find out. And when we start, you know actually very little. We've been taught a lot of hard skills, a lot of different things at the same time, but it's the application of what we've learned that we're going to have to learn. So remember that when you get into your job, you are now learning. You are also not expected to know everything when you are serving your articles, when you're new in a job. You're going to make mistakes, and it is okay to make mistakes, but you have to own the mistake, and don't go make it today and tomorrow and over again. Please learn. If you have made a mistake, learn from it and go and ask and tell people, like, you know what, I've seen this, I'd like to try and see if we could maybe play around in a safe environment with how we could use technology. So like, I have a team right now, or one or two people in my team that is still slightly junior, and their fear of wanting to try anything because I'm going to get it wrong is causing them to lose so much time. I'm like, we are a small team, there's a million things that we need to do. Your email that you're going to draft does not have to quote every piece of legislation to cover you in it. What is the crux of that matter? Ask yourself, what is the biggest problem? What does the business want to know? What are you solving? Give them that. If they want more, they'll come back to you. So it's going to come with practice. You're not going to get it right off. But if you remember that you are in a learning environment, making mistakes is okay. You will give yourself permission to move through things a lot quicker. And this is the time to try. This is the time to, like, when I was young in my career, I was also very like structured, and it's like I studied law, so I need to do this, and it's like, am I gonna try that? And it's like I really wanted to get into sales at one point in my life. I'm like, no, but I'm gonna fail at it. And it's like, what if I fail? You know what, if you fail, like, so what? There's like nothing else is gonna happen. You're gonna have your ears, you're gonna have your nose, and you're gonna be alive. You're not gonna be dead. Worst is you're gonna be embarrassed, and the worst outcome is you're gonna lose your job. But you know, nothing worse is going to happen to you. And the chances are, if you do fail, you own your failure, you find how to rectify it, you are not going to lose your job. But if you fail, you sit on it, you hide it, you don't want anyone to know about it, that's the time that it causes a problem for yourself. So just go out and experiment and try things. And we call it a sandbox in an IT environment. Like, it is that part where you can play around with the system, you can test the system, you're never going to break the system because it's not gone live. I think the time where we get into articles and where we get into, as a young lawyer, that is our sandboxing. That is for us to test things, because your senior lawyer is always going to review the documents that you send out. They're always going to look and see, have you made a mistake? Can they fix it? So that's a time for you to experiment as much as possible and to start building that flexibility muscle.
I like that. Make as many mistakes as soon as possible, because you'll learn how to fail fast. And I'm a strong believer in failing fast. And I think I might have taken it too far in my younger age,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I was trying everything.
Oh,
but lo and behold, I had a mentor who was like, if you don't learn, you will earn. And if you can do both, it's even better. So I think I took that and ran with it. I was just like, I'm going to try everything that's within my skill set, and we'll see what sticks. And I feel like, yeah, I think that when you flex that muscle a bit more, I guess it gets easier.
Do you know what's interesting?
Mm.
And you, both of you, may see it as you have progressed in your career. Most companies are still doing that with their very business model. Companies are testing and trying, and it's like, you know what, maybe we should target this market. Oh, what if we tried this model? Oh, this product may work. And then you come back and you read in the news that MTN has failed massively in Nigeria. So companies, executives, and people are always still testing, experimenting, and trying. I recently did a course where we had one of our professors teach, and these are senior executives that's in this class, CEOs of globally listed organizations. And what he was teaching us is the principle of exploring. He said, you will have your business model, you will have your core. For us, we will always be lawyers. You will always have your law degree, and no one will be able to take that away from you. But you see the signs, you see things are changing. We are sitting here talking about legal technology because we know some kind of disruption is imminent, something is coming. We need to future proof our own careers. Go and experiment. Go and see, if I do a data analytics course, what does that do? If I walk down the road and go and sit in a medical legal class, what does that mean? Or a medical class, what does that mean? Experiment, explore your own expertise, your own knowledge, everything that you know, while you have your foundation running.
I like that. That's also very prominent, I think. And I was also going to ask, do you know of any like platforms or schools that people can attend in South Africa, both paid and unpaid, that people can kind of like expand their skill set? Because like you're saying, right now it's about looking your best in front of an employer.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
like the ratio is like 1:10 for
yeah,
jobs in South
yeah,
Africa, from what I've heard just right now. And I'm like, oh, South Africa, you're kind. And Europe is like 1:200.
yeah,
So
yeah,
everywhere in the world right now, there's way more law students than there are legal jobs.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think upskilling is an important thing. It's not always necessary, because for me, I'm just
yeah,
like, sometimes if just use what you have. Sometimes you've got a unique skill that you already have that you don't necessarily have to get a
yeah,
certificate for. But for the ones that want to and have the patience and time and money for it, do you know of any platforms that people can get
yeah.
courses that can make them a bit more employable?
Absolutely, absolutely do. So even before you go to your courses, right? Go and read up. If you just start following, so if you follow the two of us, I think both of us probably have 100 other legal tech experts across the world who we engage with constantly on LinkedIn, who post valuable content. That's where you start, because that is where you will build your language to be able to speak and to be able to understand what this is, instead of just going and doing a course and spend a lot of money and you may not even like it. So build your own knowledge, and knowledge doesn't have to be done through formal education. The second one, there are so many webinars, there are so many YouTube courses. What you guys are doing here, listen to as many of those. I, at one point, especially during COVID, right, I used to sign up for all of these things. And like sometimes my mom was like, what the hell are you doing? It's midnight. I'm like, oh, there was this amazing webinar in the USA that I just wanted to listen to. And that's kind of like, I kept on building on my skill set by listening and joining, and you will be surprised as to what you learn informally through those sessions. But in South Africa, if you do want to do courses, UCT has started with different kind of courses that they have, and they have now partnered with the SALT, the South African, and you were going to have Catherine on the session today. So SALT has got fundamentals to technology or introduction to technology. They've got like a great introductory foundational course that you can do, that you can go learn about it. Then the Lit Institute, where one of her courses, I'm collaborating with her, but she's got other courses on Gen AI and on understanding legal technology, also cybersecurity. The Lit Institute has got some great, and you get a certificate from that. You can do a certificate from it. LinkedIn is, especially when you register for premium, and I know our students also don't always have the money, but there's a lot of courses like introduction to data analytics or introduction to, and the courses doesn't always have to be legal related, but if they are technology related, you know how to transfer that skills. Project management is a fantastic one, where having project management skills, it's like they are all interlinked. So legal technology, legal innovation, legal project management, design thinking, all of those things really just so much align. So I think the lady's name is Skuman. She does a legal project management course. Skuman attorneys, or I'll find the details, and you can put that down in when you post this one. Who else has got something interesting in South Africa?
There's Africa Legal, I think they're called. Yeah, Africa
Africa
Legal.
Legal. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think they also have a introduction
Yes.
to legal project
Yes.
management that they have as
Yes.
well.
Yes, and they change their courses all the time, and what they have and what they offer. They're also fantastic for articles, because they also write quite a number of articles. Now, if you want to go and be an expert, or you want to learn a whole lot more, the Serious Law School, I love their one. It's a summer program. I think, I don't know if you've done theirs yet. I've done some of the online ones that they used to have during COVID. So they also look at legal project management, legal operations, because legal operations, again, very much aligned to legal technology, is also a very growing area. In that area, you have chief operating officers with BCom degrees. It doesn't necessarily have law degrees. And I think if we build our skill set to have other disciplines supplement our legal degrees, those are roles that we're going to fill. We don't need to have people coming from outside our field to do the work that we are doing. Cornell has got a fantastic master's. It's called Legal Technology and Entrepreneurship. Love what they're doing. And then there's one or two in Spain and Italy, which I just forgot their names, but where they also specialize in some legal tech.
Okay, that's I think that's been very useful. I think I've really enjoyed this conversation because it took a very different turn to the one we did the first time because we then went on a tangent and started talking about community and how this, but I think this has also been a testament of that. Like I said before, we've met each other and we follow each other and we talk a lot, keep in touch, and that's the other thing that we then sang about basically, that it's a big community and that's how you get most of your jobs. Because then I think that's the last one that I was going to touch on in terms of like job hunting in our field. It doesn't really work the same way as it does with like the law firms and job boards and stuff. You kind of have to network your way into it. So I think tell us a bit more about the job hunting part of things, because I think that's also one of the major things that people look at when they're checking out this roundtable.
Absolutely. So networking, that's a very interesting one for me. And you are so right. It's not that this is a closed community. We are so open to welcome others and we want to grow this. We want to make the table bigger. We want to bring more people in. But we want to see people, even if they don't have the skill set, but they've got to have the mindset. They've got to have that curious mindset. And it's like, I want to learn. I want to do something. Can I help you? Like, what are you doing here? Okay, let's test. Let's try. And those are the kind of people that you want to bring in rather than your lawyer that thinks very traditionally over and over again. And by the way, pause, go on another tangent. Every lawyer entering currently in needs to be au fait with technology. We need to understand how to use technology. Most of us know the basics. When I started in this career and I'd ask lawyers, are you using technology? They look at me and go, I use Excel. And I'm like, Excel is not technology. But anyway,
Yeah.
if we don't, and people, and this is the last myth as well that I'll just bring in here, and then I will come back to how do we network and how do we find jobs. Whenever I do talks around legal tech, around AI, and how we need to be familiar with it, people ask, do I think that AI will replace lawyers? And like, it's a question that we get all the time. And the survey that was done by, I think, Goldman Sachs looked at which industries are most likely to be disrupted by AI. Legal is on the top. Legal is one of the top industries because so much of what we do is repeatable tasks. And artificial intelligence is becoming so much more advanced that it doesn't just do 1, 2, 3. It is starting to understand if this, then that, and how does that comes in, and how can these, and it's starting to understand, like we all talk about natural language. That is what ChatGPT is. You ask it in how I'm asking you, please give me the answer to this, and it goes, oh yeah, there's the answer, here's a possible answer. So you can understand how the possibility of lawyers being replaced by AI is a real fear for people. But I'm happy to believe, and I hope I'm not wrong, it will not replace lawyers. But lawyers who use AI will replace everyone else. So if you want to be competitive, if you want to stay ahead of the game, it is no longer an option. It is not a choice. You have to get familiar with it. You have to experiment. You have to play around with it. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be next year, but how are you preparing yourself to future-proof your practices, your roles, and your job? Right. Coming back to finding jobs in this area. When you are curious, you are going out there. I spoke about following people who are doing these things, reading articles that are doing this. You start engaging on your LinkedIn platform, and LinkedIn predominantly because that is your professional space. You start sharing this information with others. You start putting out there. So this is how you got to know me, because Naomi was talking about this AI, and I'm doing this web, and I'm doing this. That's how I got to know you. You were posting, you were saying something, and that's how we connected. We didn't don't connect because it's like, oh, there's another legal techie, let me bring her into the fold. You put yourself out there. So you go and you share. For example, tomorrow you see an interesting article that Microsoft has now launched a very specific legal tech, ChatGPT, that's just for lawyers. You send Naomi that article and you say, Naomi, I saw this is really interesting. I know this is your area. I just thought I was going to send it to you. When you are networking for your future career opportunities, you don't just and pick up the phone or send an inbox and say, hey, I've got all of this experience, I'm looking for a job. It's like hundreds of people do that. We get millions of those messages on a daily basis. You do not stand out. It is like an investment account. You invest and you invest, and it sometimes takes years and it sometimes takes months. But as a law student, you start in year one. You start building your LinkedIn profile. You start connecting with people. You start sending individual invites to them. You start sharing stuff that is value to the market. Tomorrow, I see that Alia at Fusion is looking for a legal analyst. I'm like, there was this one lady. She was so keen on legal tech. She kept on sharing legal tech. Let me find her. Let me send it to her. And then you connect them. So you're already starting to stand out, and you build that network and you build with people. And then if you want to learn more, maybe you send an email to Ruth and you say, hi, Ruth, I'm a 4th-year student. I've done this and this and this in legal tech. I'm so curious to know how you build your career. Do you have 10 minutes for a coffee for me? And then that's how you start networking with people. If you can, which I know that our conferences are super expensive, but reach out to conference organizers and say, I'm a 3rd-year student, I'm a 4th-year student, I'm a legal enthusiast. Do you have bursaries, or do you have sponsorship where you maybe bring in some students that you can get? What we also do with our Lit Institute, for every course that we have at least 2 or 3 tickets that we give out to young students. I think last year, one of my mentees from Nigeria was one of them that joined the program. That we like, I can see you're curious. You always ask me questions. You're always engaging when I post. He comments on all my posts. He asks me more questions about it. So those are the people that draw attention and that would most likely be invited into the fold. But if you don't get into the fold, where you are at, make a difference there. Find something that you can improve. Come up with a business idea, come up with the solution and say, I read about this piece of technology. It's not expensive. Can we trial it? Can we maybe test this? And that's also people start seeing that you are keen. And who knows, maybe you're building your own empire where you at. And none of those people in your sphere even know about legal technology.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, no, so I feel like you're preaching to the choir in this thing, because I
I
feel like
am.
that's what I do every other day, just in general. So I think I like it when other people kind of echo the same sentiments, because then it then shows me that I'm just not talking out the side of my neck about these things. And I guess it'll also give it a bit more strength and but yes, thank you so much for this conversation. It was very enlightening, and I always
I'm
enjoy
just
listening to you
listening.
speak as well.
I'm
So
just being a
Lisa,
great
over
listener
to
today.
you.
Yeah, lots,
Let's
lots,
hear what you
lots
have
of
to
gems
say.
there. I think for me, I can speak for myself in that I find organically I'm coming to that intersection myself where legal, business, and now sort of in doing these roundtables, connecting with people like yourselves, I'm forced into this legal tech space, and I believe that if our colleagues don't jump on the bus, you know, and I'm not a scientific person. If you just give me a course that says Intro to Data Analytics, and my brain's gonna switch off. But I think I'm willing to dip my baby toe in the water because it's necessary for the, I won't say survival, but the thriving of the profession. We have to be willing to break those comfort zones. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm finding myself, like I said, coming to that point where I'm like, law is a business. Essentially, law is a business because ideally, when our parents send us off and they pay for those expensive degrees,
Mm.
they want us to earn money from it. And where we choose to go and start law firms or even branch out on our own, become entrepreneurs, it's a business. And I find even just starting law firms, like there's so much of ambition and dreams. And even as a law student, you might have that ambition, or as a graduate also, to start a law firm. Personally, I don't think we need more law firms, but
Mm.
where I found myself coming to is where I'm looking at the business
Mm.
side of things and I'm saying, look, guys, okay, you want to start a law firm. We've got to look at all of the business aspects. We've got to break it down, like Naomi said. We've got to break down the steps. There's so many things that go into running a successful law firm, even alternative legal service providers. It's a business at the end of the day. So I find myself coming to that place where people are asking me now, okay, I want to open a law firm. Can you tell me what to do? And so I find myself going into that avenue, new coaching avenue for law firm owners, where, okay, let's walk through the nitty gritty for 6 months and then you can say at the end of it whether you still want to do it. But
Mm.
it's so important to get down to the processes, I think. And I'm seeing that from a business perspective because, and also, you, Naomi, you mentioned LinkedIn towards the end there, and we have all these pictures portrayed, by our colleagues about what it means to be a law firm owner. And there's all the branding and the fancy offices. And of course, for a starstruck law student or an aspiring graduate, we think, yeah, I want that. I want to do that. But yet there's so much more that goes into it. And for me, I've always had entrepreneurial skills, but I'm finding that intersecting now with law in a very nice way because and yes, legal tech is part of that coaching material
Mm.
I'm developing. Because we have to myself, like I said, I have
Mm.
to dip my baby toe, eventually all
Mm.
my toes, eventually both my feet, eventually my whole body, because it's necessary. And I think if we're just going to be grossly inefficient, and yes, like you very rightly said, Naomi, the ones that don't use AI are going to be replaced. It's as simple as that. So we have to be able, and I'm willing, I guess, to even learn about this field and the more nitty gritty analytic side of the law, where it's more than analyzing cases, right? It's more than analyzing. Now we're analyzing processes. And I'm also a stickler for doing
Yeah.
things right, doing things efficiently.
Mm.
And I think we'll do well to mentor or teach law students as
Mm.
graduates, teach them these processes that if we don't go through, like I say, we don't go through the nitty gritty. And yes, it's sometimes it's like uncomfortable. It's like, do we have to? Yes, but at the end of the day, it's going to affect your bottom line. If you don't put in the hard graft, if you don't determine your processes efficiently, if you don't take out what's not working,
Yeah.
and add technology to make it work better, then of course it's going to affect your bottom line. As proficient a lawyer as you might be, and I think all of us are very good lawyers, in terms of what we
Mm.
came out of university with and the practice
Mm.
experience that we had after that. But if we don't figure out the processes and we don't, I think, really go behind the scenes in making law work for, for the end user, we must educate law firms through legal tech so that the end user is
Mm.
ultimately benefiting from all of those systems. For me, it's very much uh, about the client, the actual person, the actual legal problem that this
Yeah.
person has that needs to be addressed. And all of our systems, all of
Yeah.
our analytics, all of that goes towards,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
putting the best foot forward and delivering a service that makes, I think, at the end of the day, makes all of the sacrifices that we made to study for that core degree, makes it worth it if we know that we are delivering efficiently, and we're delivering up to date, we're using technology, not just for the sake of being fancy, but we're so passionate about service delivery and doing law properly that we're willing to go through all of these audits and the analytics and the step by step because we want to make law work, and end of the day we all want to earn from it. So um I very much see myself partly by force, partly organically. I know that that's possible, but I can see myself wanting to professionally develop myself in this area. But where I'm delving naturally into the business side of things, I think that can only help my own professional development, because as I'm coaching and mentoring and teaching, obviously I'm also listening to myself. So yeah, I think it's more necessary. I don't think it's even an avenue. I think now that we have this thing opened up called legal technology, 10 years ago, maybe not. But I think now that we have it, I think law students, graduates will do well to even go and get those. If they have sciencey brains or whatever, go and get that coding thing and get those courses in, do the LinkedIn stuff. Because we've got to start somewhere and we've got to build on what we come out of university with. Yeah. So I think the future is, I think the legal profession hasn't seen yet what AI, what legal tech is going to do to it. Like you said, we're like standing on the cusp of something, and I also feel it. And of course, very excited to have found all of you lovely people in this legal tech community. Make friends quickly, make friends, and of course, learn and be schooled by you guys. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Yes.
Lisa, thank you so much for having me.
Mm,
I just want to end up with some parting words that it's an exciting time. Um, it is not scary. It
mhm,
creates more opportunities. There are now probably about
mm,
10 different new careers that is available because of legal tech. And no, we do not have to be a techie. Ask me to code and I will completely mess something up. I do not. I'm not a technology person in terms of a technical technology person. I still need to call my IT team when something goes wrong with my
yeah.
laptop. But you need to understand
Mm,
how to use technology. We all
mm,
know how to use our apps on our cell phone, right? That does not require us to be a technical expert. That is what technology is. It's helping us just work better. It's helping us to be more efficient. And it's not just a case of we want to know it because it's giving us a better
mhm,
career. Our clients are demanding this. You can ask every single big law firm. The client is asking, what are you
mm,
doing to give me better value for what I'm doing? The
yeah.
billable hour is dying a slow death. And we cannot get rich on selling hours. You will have what, 24 hours in a day? You need to sleep for 7 to 8 of those hours. You need to eat, you need
Mm,
to do other things. So realistically, how many hours do you have to sell? If you get sick, your hours is gone. So think about value, and technology is that enabler to allow us to create
mm.
value and
Amen
to
to that.
be an even more valuable lawyer for our clients.
I like that because I think it follows the same thing. Like it's in my LinkedIn bio right now. Like I had someone interview me. They'll be like, "What's that?" I was like, "No, I'm very much work smart, not hard." I was like, "I'm a
Yes,
firstborn African child.
yes,
I've been working hard my whole life. It's fine.
yes,
I don't need to do it professionally as well every day." So,
exactly,
legal tech
exactly.
is there to, and I also say it's there to give you more value for your money. So
Yeah.
it's going to help you guys offer your clients
Mm,
a better service in less time. And that means you can service more clients, which means you're
Yeah,
making more money. So
exactly.
it's that. And I'm like, and
mm,
also it means your staff
yeah.
contingent is not dying trying to service your client. Because I was like, right now, that's the current epidemic that's in South Africa, that there's they're facing so many candidate attorneys resigning as soon as they complete their articles. They're just like, oh, I'm done. I can't do this.
Yeah.
That was the worst
About
2
a
years
year.
of my life. And I was like, wait, what? You guys are quitting. I think I had about 6 friends who were doing it. I think only one managed to like continue it. The rest were like, no, time out. I'm gonna take a
Right.
break, maybe go
Yeah.
into in-house or something. But for now, and I was just like, wow, guys, we were all those girls who were in law school, like, I'm gonna be the next Jessica Pearson, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, I think we need to do better at telling people the reality of these things.
Not
But at the same
glamorous.
time, there's tools out there that make this stuff so much easier and make us better lawyers as well.
Yeah.
So let's start doing that. And hopefully also the universities catch up, because I think one thing I have been realizing networking a bit more is the UK universities, the American universities have added legal technology to
Yeah.
their curriculums. So, and
Mm,
it's been there for a while. So I
mm,
think
mm,
if we can probably do that, I think that's what I spend most of my time doing, trying to push universities to add these things to their curriculum now in Botswana specifically.
mm,
So
mm.
I'm hoping that also the
Mm.
universities are paying attention and they're
Yeah.
kind of adding this to it, because it is
Mm.
now a needed and very necessary addition to your legal education as well. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
hopefully that happens. But yes, Lisa, thank you so much once again
Yeah,
for one of these conversations. You know, I love talking. So if we're talking
Rati,
about something fun,
tell me when both
oh,
of you are in Johannesburg, and we will have a
thank you,
conversation about
ladies. Thank you, ladies.
life.
Yeah,
exactly. No, definitely, I'll do that.
for those that are going to
We'll
be
definitely have a
watching
catch.
the
Thank you
replay,
so
we
much,
hope that
ladies.
it's
You're most welcome.
not enjoyable, not inspiring, that it gets you to do something. Um, but I think being role models is one level, but having that talent to get you off your butts to say, I need to go investigate this further. I need to go connect with Watson, Naomi, and I need to start DMing them, sending them articles and doing something, right? So we want action. And of course, we want conversations after, because I'm not event based as much as we have events, but the best conversations are the connection, or the best connections are the ones that are maintained afterwards. So please reach out to these expert women in their field. And of course, if you're not following me, I don't know what rock you've been under. But you can join the 13,400 and something followers. um, yeah, shameless plug. Yeah, no, I'm just
Ooh, I like it.
that's
Shameless
just to
plug, we
say I've been
stand.
on LinkedIn for the active for the last 4 years. So
We
if you
always
don't
stand.
know Law Mom, then you've been seriously living in the Stone Age. So please follow me as well. And of course, we're gonna have more conversations like this. And if you want to have more legal tech conversations, then also you can put it in the comments, or you can put it in my DMs on LinkedIn. We want to give you guys options. And I think in the course of this discussion, legal tech has become more than an option. It's something that you have to tack on. And there are different inexpensive ways to do it in the meantime. But if you want to be able to study further, of course you can do that. It is going to be how you future-proof your career, and of course how you are able to market yourself. And if you have that uncanny combination of the science brain and a legal brain, then even better for you, because you'll be one of those unique rare species out there in the legal field. So thank you, ladies, and thank you, everyone, for supporting. And I hope that this helps you.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's it up. Thank you, ladies. Yeah,
I
my
think
eyes
Naomi
feel like
dropped off
sand.
immediately.
Been like, I know it was so bad last
I can
night. I
see.
was like,
At least now you can go drop
I was
off.
even nervous to sleep 'cause I thought I was gonna miss the bed. So what? And I kept
Oh, um, have you tried, for me, I think what my doctor suggested for me to try at the beginning, which then worked, and I
Hmm.
was so happy that I didn't have to continue on the little roadmap that is trying to figure out what can work for these things. He made me like do
Mm-hmm.
like boiled ginger, like actual ginger by itself, just
Oh.
do little shavings, like peel it and then boil it and then drink it as a little juice, but also dark chocolate. So I usually just drink it as an actual drink, and then I
Mm.
like cut off and melt it and stuff. That one, I found that those two really helped me, along with the pain as well, because for me, my family has a history of PCOS and dysmenorrhea, so we are those
Hmm.
people who were taking stupid painkillers for periods. Oh, she dropped off. No. I don't know if that was my internet. Okay, now it's going to be a recording of me speaking to myself. Anyways, Lisa, goodbye. Hopefully you feel better.